Okay, so this is just going to be a conversation between Sanya and myself, and we're going to talk a little bit about the integration of masculinity and femininity. So, Sanya, do you mind just, in your own words, give a little bit of an overview of what that means and then how it can be applied to everyday life?
Yeah, cool. So this idea of masculine and feminine is basically based upon the fact that we have energy inside of our body, and this energy is lending itself towards masculine or feminine, usually based on gender roles most of the time. So most men are more naturally masculine, most women have more feminine energy, but we both have both energies within us. And getting in tune with how these energies are showing up in our lives can actually help enhance our lives quite a lot, by noticing the ways that they are in balance and imbalanced at the same time. I found has been quite monumental in my growth. So I wanted to share a little bit about that. I think you and I were having a chat before, and that's why we're doing this. So basically, when it comes to being more masculine, the things that we can be aware of in our functioning is we're very logical. We can think of, okay, plan A, step one, step two equals this. So a metaphor that I give my clients is I'm sitting around and I'm like, oh my gosh, I really feel like an ice cream today. I really would love an ice cream. And then I'm like, oh, okay, yep, all right, so I want an ice cream. And then I think about how I'm going to go get that ice cream. So I'm like, okay, I need to get in the car. I need to take money with me. And then I go on the path to go getting that ice cream. So that initial desire is the feminine, that thing of like, oh, I really feel like an ice cream. And the masculine is how I make that happen. So I go and I get the stuff and then I get the ice cream. So on a daily basis, these desires are sort of quite present for us. We know we want certain things, don't want certain things. And when we're in tune with that masculine, we're figuring out how to actually go and get it done. We're figuring out how to make it happen. What can happen when that gets imbalanced is we can set goals for ourselves that are purely masculine, that don't take into account how we actually feel. So we want to be able to tune into how we actually feel, because at the end of the day, any goal is usually achieved so that we can feel a certain way. It always comes
Mm.
back down to feeling. It's like if I'm more
I like
productive.
this. This is very similar to a conversation I have with my clients,
Yeah,
which I think has at its basis a very masculine approach. So
yeah,
I deal with organization and productivity, which,
yeah.
as you say, this is about how to get things done, right? Um, and I break it down into four pieces, right? There is the collect, the process, the do, and the review.
Mhm,
And in the beginning, the collection
mhm.
is really, as you say, it's that feminine approach. And I in fact, I say this is a very creative process where we're trying to think, how would we like the world to be or like our life to be? Which, as you've just put it, is like, what do I want to feel?
Yeah,
At the end of the day, what do I want to feel? Right.
yeah,
So that's
yeah.
the first step in that productivity cycle. And then we have to go through this analytical process of, how am I going to do it? So being strategic, being logical, rational, and then you have to go out and take action. And that I think is also a very masculine sort of thing, is like, penetrating into the world. And
Correct.
then you come back out and you review. It's like, okay, how did I go? Was this
Yes,
the right thing? How does this make me feel? Did I get my goals? And so you're again coming back into that, as you describe, it's that feminine
yes,
energy, right?
yes, yes,
So, and I wanted to point out two more
yes.
things. One is like the yin yang symbol. I'm sure yeah.
Correct. Yep.
So that is the symbol of, it's the yin and the yang, the masculine and the feminine. And also, look at us. I'm wearing a dark jumper with a big white face, and you
I know. This was
so we
not
got
planned.
this is not planned. This is completely spontaneous. You got the white jumper with the dark
Yeah,
face, and it's a beautiful integration right
yeah,
here of the
yeah.
yin yang, the masculine, feminine.
Yes,
So,
yes,
is
yeah.
there anything else in a just anything briefly you would like people to understand about that,
Mm,
the
mm.
integration of the two as well as how they operate independently?
Yeah, so I like to see it as a dance. It's that we're always flowing in and out of both of these states, and I can detect signs of when my feminine is say in imbalance is if I'm feeling numb. If I'm feeling numb and really cut off from like what I'm, what's happening in the moment, then I'm
Mm,
quite then I'm not really feeling empowered in that part of myself. So that can happen from time to time as well. And if I'm feeling quite disempowered in my masculine, it's like I just don't want to take action. I'm just like, I can't be
mm,
bothered. I don't want to do anything. I might procrastinate quite a lot. So
mm,
those are some signs of the ways it shows up. But when they're integrated, you experience flow, like you're just doing, but you're not thinking. There's not the thinking mind involved in what you're doing. There's something else coming out of you that's just being channeled through you. And I feel like that is when they're both integrated. So
Yeah,
it's
I like it.
so instead of inducing states of more masculinity and femininity in your life, we need to think of it as they're byproducts of conditions that we set up in our life. It's routines that we have. So if you get up and you're like, I'm going to follow a certain routine, that's going to allow for your mind to remain more focused. Like I know if I meditate, I'm more focused. So it's like you're setting up the conditions for masculinity and femininity in your life. And I think that's the thing that just feels like you're coming from a more centered place when you're doing certain tasks or going after what you want in life.
Yeah, I think that is something that we talk about a lot with my clients as well, and that is that this idea of rituals or routines, etc. What we're trying to do is create structure for our day, which then allows us to be flexible. Like if you have that structure, then you know what sort of markers you have to hit, and it gives you a lot of freedom then to play with it outside of the space in between.
And I want to give an example of when you are
sure.
at the beach and there's little like signposts of how far you can swim. That's the masculine. It's telling you the space you can play in and you can swim in, and then you can just let go. But if that wasn't there and it was just like an endless amount of sea, it's like, oh, I don't know how far I'm supposed to go. You feel a little bit disjointed. So it's actually safer. It helps to have containment for certain things, and then you can just play and flow within that.
Totally. Yeah. I 100% resonate with that. So one thing, probably just another 2 minutes. One thing I wanted to ask is there a difference in your mind between, so let's say you talked about the masculine being about going out and doing, for instance, or planning and rationalizing, being logical, etc. And then the imbalance of the masculine being like procrastination, etc. So in your mind, there's a distinction between an imbalance of the masculine versus that doesn't necessarily equal feminine, right? So you can be on the masculine but not not reaching the potential of your masculine. It's sort of like a distorted or the shadow part of the masculine, right? Do you want to say something about that?
So yeah, just because we are feeling imbalanced in one aspect doesn't mean that the other aspect, that we have more of the other aspect. It can, like you rightly said, it is like the shadow aspect of us. It is, procrastination often comes from a level where we are so used to putting that pressure on ourselves to do things in a perfect way that oftentimes we just won't do it because there's so much associated with doing things well and the fear of failure that it's sometimes better to just put it off. So there's like a level of disconnection that's already there. Now, having a feminine practice can actually help you work through that disconnection, which then allows your masculine to flourish. So, like they kind of help each other out, actually. They're very complementary to each other.
Totally. So what I'm hearing is that, there's obviously each of us has to develop, I suppose as men, first we have to develop fully into our masculine and work out any imbalances that are there. So, if we're stuck procrastinating or failing to be rational, logical about our lives, like first we've got to figure that out, right? To bring our masculinity into its full expression, and then complement it with some the femininity that comes with that creative process or the feeling, etc. Which then in turn, just as we were explaining with the productivity cycle, if you're just doing everything all the time and you're not collecting and reviewing, then that's going to you're going to end up somewhere maybe you don't want to necessarily be. But if you're balancing out that masculine process with the feminine sort of spending time, how does this make me feel? Where is it that I'm trying to get to? Did I do it well? That improves the direct application of masculine. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with that. And another way that it can work, because I think it shows up differently for different people. The way it showed up for me was because I'm more naturally feminine, because I'm a female, that's my inclination. The first thing I noticed was the imbalance in my masculine, though, not in my feminine.
Interesting.
That is what showed me the imbalance in my feminine. So I've always been like, I'm really good at getting shit done. I can do things very easily. I'm a doer. So but to the point where I can get disconnected from my body and how I feel in the moment and just do because I'm just up here about it. So I've lived most of my life from that place. That then showed me that there's a part of me that just doesn't feel relaxed. It's like, what is that? That's the feminine. She's not relaxed. So by noticing the way I was an overdrive in the masculine, it kind of created a pathway to just start building a relationship with the feminine, which I took for granted because I'm a female. It's like, whatever, it's fine.
Totally,
It's there. So for men as well, it might always be there. But noticing how maybe we're disconnected to our femininity can pave the way to looking at how we're showing up in our masculine as well.
Yeah, sure. Do you have any simple advice that, say, a masculine man could take to become aware of his feminine side and integrate it in a way that is not threatening? It's not necessarily the right word that I'm looking for, but undermining his masculinity.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice? Something simple that can be applied.
I mean, I would even start with like a really simple question is like, do I know how to feel? Like, am I aware of how I feel? And if you're aware of how you feel, you have more, you'll just automatically have a deeper understanding of the different types of emotions and the way they show up, and when anger is in place and when stress is around. But when we're like, oh, I don't even know, like emotions are like alien to me, that's a really good sign that we have disconnected, or it's not even disconnected, it's just that connection never had a chance to be nurtured. It depends on the environment we grew up in. It's like we've never had the chance for that to be safe, to be expressed. So then we just kind of, and we know it. Deep down, we all know it when something is a bit off in us. If we're disconnected or we're feeling numb, and we're so good at smashing it in our business and in our work and becoming a CEO and climbing that ladder and just doing so well at work, getting promotion after promotion, but yet there's an emptiness for a lot of people about that. That's when the feminine comes in. It's like, I feel empty.
Sure. Okay, so the simplest thing someone could do would be to just stop and check in with themselves. Like, how am I feeling right now? Or how am I feeling about X? Is that about right?
Yeah. How am I feeling? Do feelings scare me? Like, am I scared of feelings, or are they just an actual phenomenon of my life? And if you're scared of feelings, it's a really good indication. To kind of, to start that relationship nurturing within that, and see it as, we often see this sort of stuff. A lot of men do. A lot of masculine people see this stuff as a waste of time.
Sure.
Yeah, this is one very common thing I hear is like, what a waste. Like, what's that going to do? Sometimes we need a leap of faith, because only when you do you understand the value of it. I can't convince you. No one can convince you that feeling your feelings or being aware of them is going to then benefit you and your business and your life.
Right. Yeah. It makes so much sense that, I was talking about the potential to threaten or undermine the masculinity, but honestly, checking in with yourself every now and again and saying, okay, how do I actually feel about this thing? There's no way that actually makes your masculinity any less able, capable, present, or anything. It's almost like a moderating influence on just that pure do kind of mindset.
Yes.
Right. Yes. And then it helps you to sort of like take a breath, come up for air, examine the landscape, and reorient yourself so that when you are doing, you're pointed in the right direction.
That's exactly what I was saying, is like, I know a lot of the clients that come into this container are there for purpose. How do you realign yourself to purpose and make sure you are in alignment? Is being aware of what's happening in here. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? What is your vision? But if we're cut off from that, then definitely we're going to go out of alignment, because your alignment is based on who you are. So being in tune is really helpful.
Awesome. Well, Sanya, thank you. I really appreciate you having the time to chat with me. Is there anything that people who are watching this, if you want them to know something about you, or there's a social media that you want them to follow, or how do they get in contact with you?
Yeah, so just a bit of background about me. I do holistic coaching and counseling. And what I focus on primarily is your relationship to yourself being the basis of all relationship in this universe, in this world, and forming a deep connection to your true self so that you can actually live your life coming from that true essence. And I think this is why Regan and I have so much synergy between us, because we're both doing the same thing in different ways.
I believe most of your clients are female, correct?
Yes, female. I do have males as well, but the males that I have are have come from a range of people who are very sensitive but are afraid of that sensitivity because they've been told it's weak,
Sure.
or people that are quite in tune with their feminine anyway and want to just enhance on that further.
Right.
But you can
And
get in touch with me through Instagram. You can put my details in there at Sanya Minocha, or my website either.
awesome. Yeah, and I was just going to say, because a lot of my clients are male and masculine, and so I think it's good for us to have these conversations, because like while I do have some female clients, it's like by us having these conversations, I think it allows there to be a direct bridge between these types of coaching and
Yeah,
clientele. So
exactly.
okay, but to wrap up, so you're on Instagram.
Yep,
What
on
was your handle?
Instagram, at Sanya Minocha, just my name, which you can probably pop in if there's a section to write that in. It'd be easier. But yeah, feel free to connect on there. I'm always uploading content on there.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.